we have on the line someone who epitomizes the power of the word, and we have Ambition, the poet. And first of all, Ambition, are you there, my brother?
Yes, I'm here. I'm in the building.
Good, good, good. And you know what? It's good having you. You know, I've followed your works. You're a phenomenal poet, and tell me first of all a little about where you got the name Ambition, the poet.
Oh, ambition is just a word that stuck with me. I found it and it just kept ringing in my head, and I started to research the word, and it really stuck with me. That it's an internal desire to be better. No one has to give it to you. It's your own energy source. hmm
And Ambition, you have a number of books out as well. Am I correct?
That is correct. I have 3 books out. They're all called From the Tongue of a Foster Child, 1, 2, and 3. I'm a foster child that came from the city of Philadelphia. And so that's a very impactful community that I love to talk about, because I always tell people that I am the voice for the foster children that don't get a chance to speak and tell their stories. So I always have them in mind when I'm dealing with the public and doing my art.
Well, we have 1,9,622,000,000,000 people listening to us right now. I just got the stats, and so tell us, what is the message you would like people to know? Give us a little background about yourself in the foster system, your upcoming, and share a little bit of what what you would like to share through your art.
Yeah, so I basically was in foster homes to the age of 8. I come from Philadelphia, and my mom, unfortunately was on drugs, in the 80s era. And so I was able to, go through a lot of foster homes, but I ended up getting adopted by a lady, Mrs. Pinkney. Thank you so much, Mom, that raised me in South Jersey. And so what ended up happening is I love to express myself and really write. I was writing through my pain and my anger as a young boy. And there was a lot of things going on with me being bullied as a foster child, coming from, North Philly. And then next minute I know I'm in Sicklerville, New Jersey. So that was a big adjustment for me, and I got bullied for it. And so I started to write stories about how I felt and all the things that I went through. And so as I got older, I started to rap, and then rap turned into poetry. But I knew something was missing when I got on the poetry scene about foster children. And so I really thought that was odd. I mean, they talked about the drugs, they talked about everything else, but when it came to being a foster child, no one talked about that.
And why do you think that is?
I think that a lot of people, it's taboo for them. Believe it or not, they would rather talk about other things in their neighborhoods that are going on, but not really being a foster child. Remember, being a foster child is basically saying your mom or dad has, basically have left you, or something has happened, and now you're living with someone else who's taking care of you. And a lot of people, or foster children, do not really like to speak about that past. And so my mission is to really go out there and tell people, even if the residents of Philadelphia, you are living among foster children, and you probably don't even know it. Students, people you work with on your job in Philadelphia, past foster children, they are among you, but they just don't, speak about it. And if you raised by your grandmom, if you was raised by your aunt, you're also under the foster care umbrella, because that's considered kinship care. So anytime you're raised by not, your original parents, you are considered under the foster care umbrella. And so that's kind of, my mission, and to really speak about the foster children.
Well, Ambition, hold on. We're going to bring you right back, listeners. You're listening to WURD Radio, and we'll be right back. Backword family, this is Nathaniel Lee on the segment we call Tell Me Something Good here on the Groundings with Brother Shamari Show. And we were just talking to the phenomenal poet, Ambition the poet. Is the name he goes by. And you were telling us, Ambition, about your mission as a poet, as a spoken word artist, to really share the message about being a foster child and those others who share that experience. Could you continue?
Yes, I was just saying that basically, just going around and telling people that there are foster children that's in your neighborhood and that you are around. and to be aware of it, because most times we're not. And what's interesting is that the black counterpart of foster children has a higher incarceration rate, a higher homeless rate. And so it really is an impact on our community as well. And so I think that people need to be aware. And also there's some good things to being a foster child as well. People like Anita Baker, and Nelson Mandela, Tiffany Haddish, Mike Tyson. There's just so many names, DMX, that I could go through, Louis Armstrong. These are people that you know of, celebrities that are foster children as well.
Look at you dropping knowledge, coming out with the names. I like that. I like that. Giving us a little something to think about. You mentioned how when you were younger and you were going to school, you were bullied. And then you began rapping, and eventually that led to your poetry. Talk about how your poetry and your rap actually helped you get through that time.
Yeah, well, I always tell the youth and people, no matter what your age is, to always, express yourself, to write. Sometimes to write through your pain. And it's very important to, understand your thoughts and to see them sometimes more than just think it through. And so writing, for me was therapeutic because I knew I had something to say, and it just had to come out. It was like one of those things that if I didn't say or if I didn't write it, it would be bottled up. I think a lot of people are like that. They have a lot to say, but they need to write it down. They need to, express it in some form or fashion, whether that's, writing, audio, or video, something that they can release their feelings in a healthy way.
And so you weren't always Ambition the poet, that the guy that you are now, doing the book readings and having the books that published and people know your name, because I got a zillion hits when I said you were coming on the segment today. I got a zillion hits, so you're very well known, but that wasn't always the case. What was the journey like?
Oh, the journey was very dark for me at a lot of points. When you're a foster child, you have issues with self-identity. Who am I really? Am I from Philly or am I from Jersey? Which was really big for me. I lost everything in Philly, and Jersey people are saying I'm from Philly, and Philly people are saying I'm from Jersey. And as a kid, that was really a hard time for me. Who is my mom? I didn't get a chance to really, see the face of my mom literally until I was 26. And so meeting siblings, reuniting with them, not really knowing who they are. Even to this day, not the best relationships because, I'm older and they're older and they all have their own lives and so do I. So you have a lot of things that you have to go through, in the darkness of being the foster child. But I just have to say that I just wouldn't change any of it. I learned so much, and I know that what I've been through is meant to help someone else. And it's all a journey, a journey to really come to this point, to even talking to you today. And so, it's always powerful. We are not victims. If we look at our past that way, that's when you become a victim. But I'm not a victim. I look at that as something battles that I needed to make me stronger for whatever is planned for me in the future.
Let me ask you about that dichotomy between the Philly and New Jersey. You came up in one place, your world was transferred someplace else. One place said you were from Philly, the other one said you were from Jersey. So you actually couldn't identify with anything. How did you resolve that? Who are you? Who do you say you are now?
Well, now I'm me. God has created me, and so wherever I go in America or on this globe, I'm Brian, right? I'm Ambition. So if I decide to live in New York for the next 10 years, I decide to do that. And I think we get so caught. I tell the youth, don't get so caught up in where you live because you may move one day. And then are you weaker now because you're not in your neighbor? You're not in North Philly? Are you different? Are you the same person you are if you move to Africa? And so what I learned was that what I am and who I am is inside of me, not where I live at. And so I had to come to the heart. I had no control over where I live at. My mom taught me you have to love for who you are and where you're located. So if you go anywhere in this world, nobody can take that away from you. And so I really resolved that with my mom, teaching me that, you are who you are, regardless of where you live at. And my experiences and my history is within me. So, yeah.
So tell me about your mother. You speak very fondly of her. You moved from Philadelphia, and it sounded like you really were put in a better place that allowed you the fertile soil to really grow. Tell us about the family, your adopted family.
Yeah, my foster mother, Mrs. Pink, was very it taught me about self-love. In the beginning, I didn't even love myself. I didn't know, being loved was different. Trying to really understand. Why is a stranger loving me? So many people go through that struggle. Why is a stranger loving me? Why are you taking care of me, right? As a foster child, I don't know. You decide to take care of a random boy, and she the love, and she was a Christian, and explaining to me the love that she understood through church, and to give that to me. And she was very stern, and you couldn't fight in her house, okay? You had to argue. So the issues, we didn't have fighting in our house. You had to argue. You had to debate it. And so that kind of also made me better with wordplay and expressing ideas without touching a person, right? Without fighting that person, but really understanding how to use my mind and my ideas to convey points and to get my point across. And so my mom was very structured, old school, and worked for SEPTA and was really big on, personal responsibility. So, yeah.
You also mentioned meeting, I believe you said at the age of 26, meeting your birth mom.
Yeah.
What was that like, and what transpired after you met her?
Oh, man. I had, imagine, a vision of her. I think I had a photo of what I thought. It was very interesting, scary, to sit here and say that I was perfectly fine would be, a lie. I didn't know what to expect. The moment was surreal. It was very eye-opening. I had so much anger, So when I was going to see her, I had so much I thought I was going to say, and I got there. I couldn't say anything. I'm looking at someone who has been through a lot, who's been struggling, and I didn't have the courage to really say all that angry stuff that I thought I had inside to say, And so after that, the relationship is still, not where it should be, and that's because she still needs help. She's still, struggling with herself. But my main thing was to forgive her and to move on, and to make sure that she's okay. But as far as, the relationship is just not there. And sometimes we have to know that some things in our lives happen for a reason. And sometimes if you try to reconnect something that's not supposed to be reconnected, it could do more harm than good.
That's a good point.
I've seen a lot of foster children do that. Actually, I have a few brothers who try to reconnect with their family and their mothers, and it didn't go well for them. It actually made them, mentally worse off. And so sometimes reunification helps people as they get older, and for some of us, it's not the best option. And so, personally, you have to figure out what's best for you as an adult. Not, when you're a kid, it's different, but as an adult, you got to definitely discern whether it's better or not for you to reconnect that relationship.
And I guess it depends upon each person's circumstances, the circumstances involved. So what were the struggles that your birth mother had that prevented you and her from connecting and getting the relationship you've always desired coming up?
I think that I really believe that she has her own struggle. I don't really know the darkness of her story, right? I don't really know her story as much as I would like. But from what I understand is she really has her own demons. And so, when you meet somebody at an older age, right? I'm 26 at the time, and so I'm already raised, and so I believe that drugs really, really changed my mom. And I know that's to be true only because of my siblings. My siblings are not on drugs. They're pretty good, upstanding citizens. And it's very interesting because you would think that, if your parent is one thing, then the kids would be follow. And as I met my siblings, no, they're not on drugs. They're working people, working class. Some of them are married, have kids. So it's a really interesting dynamic that we have. And so some have a relationship with her and some don't, and they have their own personal reasons of why. But it's really, like you said, a personal thing for you and your life and what's best for your mental health.
And so when you discovered when you found your birth mom, and you reconnected, you also discovered that you have siblings. What was that like, reconnecting with them?
That was good. My brother Joe is amazing. He's the one who I found and set up the reunion kind of to have us all back together, and it was just a good time, to actually see people. What was very important, I will say this for a lot of foster children who have siblings and they don't get a chance to see them, to tell your listeners, it is so refreshing to see someone that looked like you. I grew up not having a sibling that looked like me. Think about that for a second, right? Some people take your siblings for granted. Imagine I get older and I see, outside of my sister, I see the rest of my siblings who look like me for the first time. Was really eye-opening for me, and it was something that I needed.
When you first met them, and as you said, people who look just like you, and you said, "Wow, they are part of me." What was that initial reaction? I mean, I'm trying to put myself in that place and imagine how I would feel. It had to be something. What was it like for you?
I think it was good. I think it was good, but it was scary. It was like, I don't know them, but I know they're my siblings. I mean, you're meeting a stranger, but they're your family at the same time. Mm-hmm. And it's like you're struggling, a stranger family. So, but they look like me. I know they're my family. But it's the first time you're meeting them, so it's really a big ball of emotion that was great, but scary, interesting, all at the same time.
And that's why you're on the Tell Me Something Good segment, because, people think of being put up for adoption as a negative thing. As you said, there's a paradigm there that's almost like, a stigma. But this all turned out well for you because it forced you into being the person that you are now, writing the poetry and motivating other people, inspiring other people, giving them stories of hope. So tell me where this all led into the actual publishing books and getting poetry, because it's one thing to write poetry, it's one thing to sing rap, but where did you first get to the point where it kicked off for you?
I think so. I was trying to do poetry. I was already writing, and my nephew says the poems I was doing were not that. It just wasn't good. And he says, "You know what you have to do." And I said, "What are you talking about?" He says, "You have to talk about your pain. You have to talk about you going through foster care." And I'm like, "No, I can't do that. I just don't want to talk about that. That's not what we're doing." And it really wasn't until once again I had to really face my life as again, I'm running away from what I went through again. And it wasn't until I embraced it and said, I do have to tell the people the darkness of what I went through, and then inspire them about the different foster children that are celebrities today, right? And the John Lennons and the Steve Jobs, the Babe Ruths, and these people are foster children as well. I got to tell other foster children this because I was never given a foster child history, foster care history of all the amazing people who made it through life who are foster children. Well, you only kind of hear, the bad stories, right, and things like that. And so, yeah.
Ambition, we're going to bring you right back, but we're going to pause for a break. You're listening to WURD Radio. Brother Ambition, you were just, before we even go any further, first, let me say this. I always love our listeners to be able to interact with some of the people that appear as guests on our show. And so if you could please tell us where people can follow you, where they can get in contact with you, all of that good stuff there.
Yeah, definitely on Facebook and Instagram. I'm Ambition the Poet. On Facebook, I'm Ambition the Poet Harper. On Instagram, Ambition the Poet. On YouTube, I'm Ambition Harper. Follow the YouTube series. I got a YouTube a series that I'm doing. It's called Revenge of the Foster Child. It talks about a story, a poetic story about a foster child that was angry. He's going through a lot, but it's 7 episodes on there, so you guys can listen to a foster child going through a lot. And it's all poetry and a story in the background, and I think you guys will really love it. I'm telling you, definitely go check it out.
Mm-hmm. One more time, give us your contact information, Facebook, Instagram, etc.
Yep, Facebook, Ambition the Poet Harper. Then on Instagram, Ambition the Poet. All one word, all spelled out correctly. No D-A, is T-H-E. P-O-E-T. And on YouTube, it's Ambition Harper. And I have some episodes on there for you guys to listen to. And also on Twitter, Ambition the Poet. All one word as well.
And you have 3 books out. So if people were interested, they say, wow, I got to check out this brother's books. How can they do so?
Definitely can go on Amazon. You go on Amazon, you can definitely get it. I personally would have you inbox me so I can sign the book and say your name, write the name to you, and reach out to me so I can mail it to you with a note to you and encourage you, because that's what I'm doing here, trying to encourage you and appreciate you for supporting my brand.
Well, wait, this can't be true, because I'm sitting here and I don't have my signed copy of your book. Something did I miss something here?
I gotta get that over to you. Yeah, I gotta get that over to you. My team's gonna make that happen.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Ambition, if there was a message you would like to share with our listeners who may know someone or themselves be fostered, be and lived in fostered homes or have the foster home experience, what would that message be or messages be?
Yeah, like I told you guys about foster children. If you know anybody that was raised outside of their mom, if you are, your situation has nothing to do with God placed inside of you. And whatever you've been through is now considered your armor. Things that do not kill you are meant to make you stronger. I really believe that. And so people can't take that away from you. And so my message is always, whatever I need to be is inside of me. Wherever I need to be is inside of me. And then my next message for the people of Philadelphia, it was obvious the whole time that where we lived, your neighborhood, bad and good, was always valuable. As we know, gentrification is happening. This is very important for the city. I need them to listen. This is very important. As soon as someone else thought that it was valuable, they made it valuable. And the whole time, our neighborhoods were sitting on gold mine. Their property, the people that live there, if they only would unify and really understand the value of what they have. I learned this year that it's not about what I think I should have. It's looking around me, looking at the people around me and the things we're looking at in the negative and saying, this is valuable. What can we do with what we have, not what we don't have?
Well, Brother Ambition the Poet, I want to thank you for being our guest. We have to do this again.